Howdy, my name's Evan,
I'm Jono.
I'm Joe.
and we are so excited to welcome today's edition of Tuesday Talks as we get to discuss Pastor Ellis' message about don't miss the mission based out of Luke 5. And so if y'all weren't there for the sermon, I suggest you go to our YouTube and watch it, but just a little recap. It's all about not letting our traditions in our lives limit the mission that God has called us to. And so it's kind of fun. We get to think about traditions. So before we get into anything more serious, just kind of want to know what traditions, sacred or secular, family or personal, do you have in your life that you do regularly, weekly or yearly?
Yeah, definitely. I could give two examples. One that I do regularly all the time is more of a routine. It's like just going through the day. I want to make sure I do this every day, like working out every day, making sure I wake up on time, stuff like that. That's definitely a routine, and it sucks when like stuff interrupts that and changes that. Bigger traditions could also be with family. Like every summer, my family tries to make it out to Minnesota just to spend some time with each other on a lake, but sometimes that doesn't work, and so that can also be interrupted a few times, which. Yeah, it's unfortunate, but you keep moving past it with grace and patience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got traditions?
I don't really have traditions, but I got routines, right? I go to Cutter's pretty much every morning to work. So I get up at 5, I go to work, and I work until I go to my other job. And then after work, I always go to the gym. So it's a pretty much a routine.
Yeah. I think I'm similar. I have a lot of, I'm a creature of habit. I like routine. I thrive in routine. So there's a lot of my life that I do the same. I wake up and work out. I go to work at a certain time, and then I go hang out with my fiance if she's in town, or I go home and I cook food and I watch sports. Like I'm a very secular person.
Cyclical?
Cyclical.
There
I'm a
you
very
go.
cyclical person in how I do stuff. But also, I have traditions with my family. I love to play board games with my brothers, especially around the holidays. And so that's something that we've gotten to do ever since our whole family's been together. Like on Christmas, I get them a board game, or we play the board games we have, and it's super fun. But I think we can all know, and we're kind of mentioning it when we talk about our traditions, that even though we have traditions, and they usually come from good places, right? We have a tradition to work out because you want to be healthy.
Absolutely.
You have a tradition of working out and then going to work at a certain spot because that's where you're productive. You feel good there. I have a tradition of the same sort of stuff. I thrive in routine because I'm comfortable with it.
Yeah.
I do well in it, productive in it. And then I have a tradition of hanging out with my brothers because it's good relational stuff. But even though they have these intended good purposes, sometimes in our lives, our traditions can become idols, right? And so how can you notice in your life of this traditions you have, which are good intentions, have maybe started to become actually limiting factors of the mission God's given us to share and evangelize to the lost?
Yeah. Honestly, I think the best way you can tell if an idol has become, if a good routine or tradition has become an idol is if it gets interrupted and you have a very negative response to that.
Yeah.
Say working out got interrupted and you're just frustrated for the rest of the day. You're like, man, this sucks. Or something like that. Like quiet time gets interrupted and you're just frustrated for the rest of the day. It's clear that instead of like making room for flexibility and allowing God to lead the way and say, hey, this might be different, you set your ground in a place that might be limiting you from doing other things and just so that frustration could keep you down for the rest of the day. And that's it's a good indicator that it has become an idol.
Yeah. It's good.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. I don't really let mine when I can't make them. So if I get way too much work, I don't even make it to Cutter's to do my work. But the gym is something that I always make time for.
Yeah.
And I would say, at some points it becomes I have to go to the gym because that's how I decompress.
Yeah.
So I'll sacrifice things like sleep in order to do that, and it always carries over into the next day. So I'll go to the gym, at 9:30, and I live an hour away. So I get out of the gym at 10:30, and then I go home, and it's like 11:30, 12 o'clock. I'm up at 5 no matter what the next day.
Wow.
So I feel the consequences of that every time, and it's something that I routinely do because I don't want to tell myself, like, we're going to skip. We're going to skip the gym this time.
So your traditions have almost become so much that you're willing to sacrifice your own well-being in a way.
Yeah, in order to. So it's like I used to say I go to the gym to be healthy, but it's obviously not just to be healthy because I need sleep.
Yeah.
And at most points, I'll take going to the gym to get that workout in over a full night of sleep.
Yeah. So when your traditions cause you to sacrifice other things that is clear
necessary
that should be sacrificed.
Yeah, it's clearly become an idol.
Yeah,
right?
it's clearly become an idol.
That it's not just if health is a good thing, but health can also become a total idol. But working out in your life, and I think I feel it too, where I'm like up in the morning, I'm like, I know I should not. I know I should get like at least half an hour more sleep, and I'm like, but I have to work out.
Work out, yeah.
so I'm going.
Out.
But you're right. It's not a health thing at that point. It's an idol thing of why. Like, is it perception? Is it something about myself?
Yeah.
And then I like how you talked about. Okay, I know it's an idol when I have this really negative reaction. You know. I don't know if anyone else is Lord of the Ring fans, but I think of Gollum, like, my precious. I'm not going to give this up. If you try to take this from me, I'm going to bite your finger off. Like, this is my thing. I think for me, too, it's very much my routines. I don't like being off my routines. And there's also spaces where I maybe hoard and idolize. It's time I've set apart to be quiet, my time in the Bible.
Yeah.
And I hoard that a little too much, where the Lord has given me opportunities. The gym is also time where I like to listen to podcasts or books, and I treat it as a sacred moment because usually I'm listening to something that is theological or a book about God, and so I'm like, okay, this is my quiet time, so I don't need to see people. And you're in a crowded gym, and I don't know if you've ever seen me at the Y, you'll see me with my headphones. I might be totally zoned out because I'm just in this mode, and so when I get interrupted from that, it's frustrating, and I like to give God reasons behind it, right? But honestly, I'm just being selfish sometimes. I'm just like,
I want my quiet space. Yeah.
I'm limiting this time I have to interact with people in a gym space, to witness to God in just little ways, right? I'm not evangelizing on the bench, right?
Yeah.
But by how I act, how I interact, how I smile, see people is a way I can show Christ, and instead I'm right, and just like everyone else in the world. So it's convicting to me sometimes. And so this brings me to this idea, right? So we have traditions in life. Maybe you realize, hey, this tradition is totally just selfish. I need to let that thing go, right? But sometimes we have traditions that are good, that we have just let become idols, right? Mm-hmm. And so maybe with Ellis, he talks about tearing down the cathedral. Maybe we do need to tear down the cathedral. But maybe we just need to restructure it. You know, the reformers of the church didn't just tear down all religion completely. No, they reformed it, right? So maybe what traditions, of the traditions we talked about, that you notice, hey, these things are diverging, stopping me from my mission to evangelize, to witness to the lost. How can you, in the same way of the reformers, reform that to keep its good, the intention that maybe God put in your heart, but also allow space for God to still do the work he wants to do in your life?
Yeah. I can think of like good examples of how I've seen that happen in the church. For example, like we've kind of modernized some hymns and put them in modern service, and I love that, and I think it's kind of blending both. We're honoring tradition of the past, but we're accepting and embracing the new tradition of the future. But pushing that personally, if like thinking, what traditions can I sacrifice? I think just in terms of my life, the best way I need to focus on balancing that is being flexible. Really just if something comes up, I stop. I'm like, okay, I've done this. But let's turn to God and be like, if you're changing something or if something else is going to happen today, so be it, and you move on. And you keep going, and the past is the past, and routine might have changed, but your focus on God hasn't. And so I think as long as that focus on God is the same, you still have that focus on the mission, you can keep moving forward knowing that it's still going to be okay.
It's good. I like that.
A touch on what you said, where you go to the gym and you tend to like put headphones on so you don't talk to people. I have no problem talking to people at the gym. I usually don't because I'm working out. They're working out. It's weird. So my thing that I have noticed, I was kind of like called out on this by people who go here and see me at Cutters every morning, is I'll throw my headphones on and I will work, and that's it. And if someone walks in that I know, I don't even look up. It's not that I'm being rude. I'm not ignoring them, but I don't notice at all. Like they could be staying there waving at me, and I would not look up for my screen because I'm trying to get my work done. And I know that I have like X amount of time before I have to leave and go to my other job and put more work in. And so I got kind of convicted on that because they're like, I always see you in there and you never say hi. And so something I've started doing, or at least being better at, is remembering to like look up from my screen and look around and see if there's anyone I know, two, if there's anyone that's, also sitting completely by themselves. Because even if you're working by yourself, if someone's like sitting next to you working, it's just a better environment, I think. And yeah, I'll take like one side of my headphone off if I see someone I know come in,
Yep.
because then if they wave at me, I'll invite the conversation rather than seeming like I'm too busy or I don't have time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I work a lot and I tend to present that I don't have time for people often.
Yeah.
So that's something I've modified my tradition while still keeping to it.
Yeah.
And I don't regret every once in a while someone comes up and they talk to me and I lose a whole 15, 20 minutes of work.
And you know what? That's okay.
That's,
You
it's
were on
okay.
mission at
It's
that moment.
It's something
Yeah.
I just need to be okay with.
Yeah.
And I think a big thing to that might be a fear for some people, definitely is for me, is if I lose time, I'm always like, well, have I lost work? And I've found, and I'm still going through this, still learning to trust, God always makes time. There's always enough time. If God wants you to switch and change something, he'll find a way to work it back into the original routine.
He literally made time.
Yeah, so
He knows how it
he's
works
got
more
no
than us.
excuses. Yeah. So trusting in him that there will be time is a hard skill.
Yeah.
It's hard for me, but it's really worthwhile to have.
It's good. And I just love kind of this idea of trust and also posture, right? Like you talk about, I put the one ear open. So I'm letting people know, hey, you can come, I'm approachable.
Instead of putting both on and head down,
So
I'll at least take one off.
That's something I've been convicted about my gym time for a while because I've recognized I idolize it. It's still good. I'm still going to the gym. It's good for me, right? It's good to be healthy. But I start to look up more. I could just look at the weight in front of me and just do my thing and look down, or maybe check on my phone. Like I'll hear something in a book and I'll look it up. I do that a lot.
Yeah.
But now I'm looking around and seeing people in faces, and now actually I've become the weird one. I've been so intentional. Okay, I want to get out of this habit of antisocial Evan at the gym. When I see somebody I know, I will actively go say. I might not start a conversation, but just say hi and say their name and let them know I'm here. I think that's just so valuable. And to me, setting myself up going into that space, knowing, hey, I'm going to do that if I do it, and keeping to it, then allows it if it happens the other way, that it's a welcome surprise and something good, rather than I got to be on my next set, like my split, man. So it's been a really cool shift. And I think these kind of go hand in hand. We just have to, traditions are good, but if it ever comes in the way of God's call in your life, it's an idol, right? So you got to hold it like this. It's good, it's here, God's placed in your hands. But if he wants to take it back up, you're still letting him do that. You know, it's this open hand rather than a tight fist that you gave it to me, I love it.
Absolutely.
I'm never gonna let it go. I also think about, the holiday season's coming up. I know a lot of us have traditions.
Yeah.
And I just want to remind us that everything in the past is rose tinted. Right? I think back my childhood, I'm like, those are the best Christmases ever. And probably when I was living in them, I was probably sad.
Yeah.
I'm probably sad. I probably had a lot of disappointments. There's probably good stuff too. I had a great childhood. Don't hear me wrong.
Yeah.
But if I actually lived in those moments, I probably would have complaining and been thinking about the last Christmas before. And I think we just keep going. And we set up these traditions. And I'm thinking about traditions in my life for the holidays. And I go, well, if we do it perfectly, then the Christmas season will be perfect. And that pressure of perfection causes it to ultimately fail.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Right? And it's,
I like that.
If you have those traditions in your life or these holiday seasons, if we could just hold them like this together. I mean, there's going to be opportunities for you to evangelize to your family that maybe you haven't, and you holding on to tradition like this is going to just push people away. I think about my brothers. I don't want our board game time to become Evan beating him in something. I don't want it to become rules are rules, fun is not fun unless the rules are followed. I want to hold that loosely.
Yeah.
So that's just a conviction on my heart, because we're going into a season of tradition. And so I think this is very topical, and I think the Lord has definitely ordained this to be the time for us to talk about this. So.
Yeah, no kidding.
Any last thoughts from y'all?
I don't think so.
No.
Nothing?
Nothing for me.
Cool. Well, we are so glad that y'all have joined us on this talk. We do have a tradition here at Chapel Hill where we meet Sundays at 9 a.m. for our classic service and 10:30 for our modern service. So we'd love to see you there. This is a good tradition. We think it's great. It allows us to worship together and just join in a community of fellowship around our God and the word that he's given to us. So we'd love to see you there. If you've missed any sermons in the past, you can see them online. They're all on our YouTube. Subscribe, ring the bell if you want to stay up to date with what's going on at Chapel Hill. So we're looking forward to seeing you soon. God bless y'all, and see y'all later.
Take care, guys.